This is Van Electric Ghost, and we're live on the air with Jamie Green for the first time. Welcome to the Van Electric Ghost podcast. How you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
We've been interviewing people live since 2016, and we like this format. It allows us to be very conversational, kind of like a radio interview, as I mentioned. What we're going to talk about today is shifting mindsets for lasting change. So that's going to be kind of our focus. And we've got a couple of things we want to talk about before we get to the heart of your story. We find our guests using Podmatch. And if people use the QR code to scan that QR code, they can check that out and find out if they want to be a guest on a podcast, or they're a podcaster and they want to find guests. You can check that out. Use your phone, scan that right now. And then before we get to the heart of your story, we always ask every guest a couple of questions. What motivates you, and why do you do what you do?
Yes, what motivates me is a unwavering sense of wanting to help people. It's something that developed in me as a very young child, seeing my dad struggle with substance abuse and unhealed trauma as a Vietnam veteran. And from there, I developed um, I guess my own limiting beliefs behind the experience as a child, not being able to comprehend and understand why my parent was choosing substance abuse over being present and being the best father he can be. I developed my own limiting beliefs, and that led my own healing journey. And from there, I found joy and abundance participating in numerous public services environments, such as being a firefighter, doing disaster action team work with the American Red Cross. My heart has just always been to help people on what could be as their worst day in their lives, and
Mm-hmm.
helping them recognize that there is hope and that there is a possibility of healing.
Yeah, so you always wanted to pay it forward because your own personal
Mhm.
experience. You're
Yes.
an NLP Life Coach, you're a Reiki Master, and trauma release specialist. So those are all things where you're trying to help your fellow person on the planet.
Mhm. Yep.
I think that's super important because a lot of times today we're told, if you go on the net with all these influencers, it's like, oh, like greed is good, like money is the
Mhm.
only purpose in life, and
Mhm.
if it doesn't make money, it doesn't matter. It seems to be that, or if it doesn't cause controversy, you just create clickbait, rage bait
Mhm.
for
Yeah.
that purpose,
Mhm.
just to annoy people. You seem
Mhm.
there's a lot of people just create things just to be controversial, and they're not really helping anybody. In fact, they
Yeah.
might be inflaming
Unfortunately.
things, and they're
Mhm.
not trying to push something forward. They're not trying to be like a teacher, not trying to be a mentor. They're just trying to be some protagonist,
Mhm.
antagonist.
Yeah.
So I think it's super important to allow creators to talk, or people
Yeah.
who are healers to talk,
Mhm.
people who are mentors to talk, and that's why I created the space to have a long form conversation, because so many things are so quick today, like
Mhm.
15
Yeah.
seconds, 30 seconds. Everything's got to be super
Mhm.
fast, super clippy, super cuts. Life isn't like that. You can't solve a problem in 15 seconds.
Yeah. That's so true.
So one of the things I like, what inspired you? I know it was your father, but like to actually go and be a wellness coach and know that
Mhm.
you had like the permission structure, that you felt like you could do it. Because people like have these ideas, they want to do something, but to actually go and actually execute on what you want, your vision, was that something that you immediately were able to do?
Yeah, and it's something that's actually been with me, like I mentioned earlier, from childhood. Even, going through my own traumatic upbringing and experiencing suicide idealization and depression at such a young age. Even as I was still interacting and meeting new people, people still saw me as a source of light, of
Mhm.
joy and peace. And at that time, it was one of my darkest moments, and I honestly couldn't understand how someone could see me so broken and unworthy of being alive could be a source of joy to someone else. And my nickname for a lot of my friends and family was Sunshine. And,
Mm.
I would always, brush it off like, okay, it must be my smile because my parents paid for braces. Not really understanding that what I eventually learned later in life, once I went through my own healing and transformation, that that's always been my purpose, to help people bring sunshine in the midst of their storms, to recognize that there is healing that's possible when you're open to it.
Yeah, I think vulnerability is kind of like the core. Like every time I've talked to people
Yeah.
who are creative or people who are mentors, they have
Mhm.
that kind of conversation with themselves. Like Victorians had this idea like the looking glass self, just
Mhm.
the mirror self.
Yeah.
And you have to be strong to look at that because a lot of people will just push that down.
Mhm. Yeah,
And
that's exactly what I did.
yeah, artists tend to push that out, right? Artists,
Mhm.
creative people
Yeah.
tend to kind of take that pain, take their emotion, whether it's pain or happiness, what they are able to process it,
Mhm.
take what's
Yeah.
inside and then bring it to the outside and also pull in like external inputs. So it's
Mhm.
like a synergy of being like aware, like you have a situational awareness or like awareness of where you are,
Mhm.
awareness of yourself.
Yeah.
So it's like microcosm, macrocosm. There you have this connection to the
Mhm.
world where you see a lot of people like they're so cut off,
Yeah.
they're so repressed, they don't know how to do that.
Yes.
And I think that's like the core of always helps like how can you be an artist? Because you give yourself permission to be an artist.
Mhm. Yeah, permission is everything. It
Yeah.
is, and unfortunately, like you mentioned, like being cut off, especially in different cultures, we talk about generational trauma. When, your grandparents and your great-grandparents didn't deal with their own trauma, it begins to trickle down. And we follow by modeling. So if we see in our upbringing that our parents did A, B, and C, and they didn't address their trauma, they just allowed them to spew and project all of that anger and pain to others, then it's more likely that you're going to continue that exact same path and be that self-fulfilling prophecy. But it is in awareness, like you said, that matters, because without being aware of the problem, you're not able to address it, right? And so
Yeah, I
that's
think
definitely the
the
first step.
awareness is so critical because a lot of times people get stuck in a pattern, right?
Mhm,
They're repeating their parents and their grandparents and their great
mhm.
parents, repeating like where they live. They're like stuck in a box.
Yeah.
You're stuck in your subculture. You're stuck in your town, your nation, whatever.
Mhm,
And if you start to look and say, "Hey, I'm not limited," you get a person like they said, "Well, I'm going to travel outside my home state. I'm
mhm.
going to travel outside my country. I'm
Yeah.
going to learn other languages. I'm going to learn other cultures." Or you get this narrow-minded kind of thing. So I'm just going to
Mhm,
stay in a box because it's safe to stay in the box.
mhm. Yeah.
But the box ends up eventually causing a problem. And
Mhm.
eventually you hit that critical mass and you say, wait, it's not working. And
Yeah.
then you're looking like, well, how do I solve that?
Mhm. Yeah, or it becomes your own self-made prison, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think a lot of people are in the prisons of their own mind.
Mhm.
Because you
Exactly.
get, there's all kinds of stories of like people who are actually in prison and
Mhm,
then they read and they self teach and then they kind of, they're physically in the prison, but their mind's not
mhm.
in the prison.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so it's like it's physically what you experience, and then what's it going on in your head and your
Mhm,
soul and your body. You can learn to, I don't know. Sometimes it's Eastern or indigenous cultures had these ideas, but like you don't have
mhm.
to be limited
Yes.
to what is physically around
Exactly.
you.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and your thoughts and your beliefs, they create what you believe is your potential and your full capacity.
yeah, perception
So
becomes reality. It's like philosophy.
exactly,
It's like Camus and
exactly.
Sartre and all the great philosophers say, "Oh, if that tree falls in the forest, did it happen?"
Yeah.
That goes back to like what's reality. Well,
Mhm,
reality is like the filter. Like this is something I learned when in college. I went to school and I was taking some legal classes, and they did
mhm,
an experiment where they did this kind of criminal like play act. They actually
mhm.
had a situation where we were all witnesses, and they said, "Here's this like crime's going to get committed in front of us, right? And we're going to see it." And it was filmed and it was audio tape. And then they
Mhm,
asked people, "What did you see?"
mm.
And everybody wrote down totally different
Something
things
different, yeah.
than what actually happened.
Mhm,
And then when the professor critically went through the video and say, how come you think that's what happened? Because everybody had a
Mm-hmm.
filter.
Yep.
People had a filter. Some people,
Yeah.
some people they had empathy for the victim. Other people didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Other people
Yeah.
projected stuff onto the perpetrator and victim based on their mindset, based on their
Mm-hmm.
social, cultural
Yep.
perspective. And so you have to always be careful. Like, what filter are you
Mm-hmm.
using?
Exactly. And that's why awareness is key, because if you're not even aware that you have these filters, then how can you begin to reflect and assess on them, right?
Yeah, I mean that's
Yeah.
just like today. It's so scary because now we have, AI, and
Mm-hmm.
what you see might not be what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, okay, it's like, well, we have a hard enough time when it really is. This
Mm-hmm.
is what actually happened, and now
Yeah.
you can manipulate what happened.
Yeah, I know. It's
So
interesting times.
yeah, so like in terms of emotional blocks, what are the most like common emotional blocks you find? Because so many, but maybe make top 5 or something that you see all the time.
Yeah, it would definitely be shame.
Mm.
Shame can be the number one um, emotion that stops people from speaking their truth and keeping them silent. And so, if you're dealing with internal battles, but you're ashamed and you fear being judged or being misunderstood, you continue to allow those emotions to fester. And then those beliefs begin to transition into that victim mentality. And then you begin to feel hopeless. But when you find someone and you continue to seek out support, seek out safe spaces where you feel comfortable with communicating with the other, then that shame begins to transform into power.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's the core of any kind of like growth experience is being getting
Mhm.
beyond like the shame and the
Mhm.
guilt.
Yeah.
That people have that like shame, guilt, and then they have this like intense need to feel safe.
Mhm.
And it's
Yeah.
like all those things can hold you back.
Mhm.
Because if you don't because like this the perfection trap. Like a
Mhm.
lot of artists run into it. I run into artists and you go to their loft and they have all these paintings. They say, "Well, are they in the
Mhm.
gallery?" He's like, "No." Why? Because they're not ready. He's like, "Well, they look ready to me."
Yeah.
you know. And
Yeah.
so it's like you're so fearful of what the world's gonna think
Mhm.
about what you do because like you're trying to be perfect, but you're like the artists sometimes are not the best judge of their own work.
Mhm. Yeah, so we
So
can
they
be our
learn.
own worst critic. Yeah.
Yeah, so you have to like have people who are advocates and say, you really need to put that out. You really
Yeah.
need to, because if you it's up to it's up to the artist. They won't put out. They'll put like 1% of their output out.
Mhm. Exactly. Yeah. And that's why compassion is so important as a daily journey to build strength in that, because it's our imperfection that makes us perfect for the world, that makes us perfect for our purpose.
Yeah,
And
because a
when we
lot of
accept that, yeah.
I mean, if you because like in my one of my jobs is like software design, and we have a lot of stuff. We do incremental development, iterative
Mhm.
development, and a lot of what we do is happy accidents. If you're in
Mhm.
engineering,
Yeah.
that you have plans and you have projects,
Mhm.
but a lot of times the things that really work are the things you had no intention of doing.
Yeah.
It's the scientists that said, "Oh, well, we tried this," and like, "Oh, what's that?" And then
Mhm.
you have to have the permission structure to actually dive into when you get something that's unexpected.
Mhm.
Do you just
Yeah.
throw it under the rug and hide
Mhm.
it, or do you actually start to be curious and say, "Why did that happen?
Yeah.
Maybe that's better than what I planned,"
Mhm.
and put it
Exactly.
out. And that's
Yeah.
that's hard to do because the world tries to not tell you not to do that. A
Mhm.
lot of process, a lot
Yeah.
of our bureaucracies and structures tell you, "Oh, you shouldn't do that." But the
Mhm.
people who are successful are the ones who actually dive into that.
Exactly. Exactly. And so when you understand that no failure is failure, it's actually feedback or course direction, right?
Yeah, and
And that's how
see,
you refine the process.
yeah, you find these people who are like, "Oh, how do you get these outlier? How do you get these people who are super creative?" Because they throw stuff at the wall.
Mhm. See what
They're what
sticks.
they just and today with the way the world's, you can now it's a lot of it is like, are you gonna get scared of what the haters say?
Mhm.
Are you gonna let somebody who has never, because the first time somebody sees something that's unexpected,
Mhm.
the reaction is to say it's no good.
Yeah.
And so if you
Mhm.
get personally, if you get pushed and like, oh, that hurts me,
Mhm.
then you'll start to shy away from anything that goes to that direction.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like you have to build a little bit of armor up,
Mhm.
because people always say that the first thing they've never seen before, they're like, oh, that's strange. They want to
Mhm.
otherize it. They want to say it's
Yeah.
no good. It's like, well,
And then
that's up
years
to
later,
you.
it's a huge success like Disney.
Yeah, it's like it's up to you. It's like really, is that you
Yeah.
really think, because just because somebody's not familiar with something doesn't mean it's not good.
Exactly.
And that's why we get this kind of process, like, oh, the algorithm, this person is like keeping up with the Joneses. This
Mhm.
person gets 1 million views, so I got to do exactly what they did.
Yeah.
Really? I don't think so.
Right. Everybody has their own journey.
But that's kind of what we're in this comparison trap, and I worry about the
Mhm.
young people when they're like they see this, like, person, an influencer, and they want to be them. It's like, well, is that really real? Like,
Right.
yeah, how much is that? Is somebody using, like, filters, and that's not really even who they
Mhm.
are. Even
Yeah.
when they project who they are, it's an act, it's a
Mhm.
mask,
Mhm.
and maybe they're not even happy. So
Exactly.
why are you chasing? Are you chasing because you're passionate about it, or you're passionate about what you think they have?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, so that's why it's so important to really do a deep dive and explore what it is that you're truly passionate about, what brings you joy and peace, so you're not seeking that external self-validation from others.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of times also is like healing from trauma.
Mhm.
Like if you have trauma, and some people feel like it's hard to figure out, like if the world, sometimes expects somebody who's a victim of a trauma to always be the victim.
Mhm.
And like so if they try to get past it, then they make them feel guilt or shame for trying to get past it.
Mhm.
Do you
Yeah.
do you run into that where people feel like, oh, you shouldn't actually be outside of that?
Yeah, and that's why a lot of people feel that external shame and it intensifies the internal shame behind that because it's a lot of times it's people that we often trust the most that actually have that perspective, thinking that, oh, you're acting different now. And in that scenario, thank you for noticing because I am working on myself, right? And so when you spin it and you accept yourself as you are and establish those boundaries, you recognize who can actually be there for you and support you on this healing journey and who isn't. And sometimes we have to take that inner reflection and evaluate whether or not our friends and family are going to be on that journey with us.
Yeah, that's super important, because like boundaries
Yeah.
are really critical for your
Hmm.
success, because give an example of a musician. A lot of times the musicians, they become super popular when they're really young. But like
Hmm.
they're
Yeah.
17, 21 years old. They
Hmm.
get and then people see them based on the work they did when they're 17, 21.
Hmm.
But like when they turn 35, you still want them to be that 17-year-old.
Hmm. Yeah.
You can't stay there.
Hmm.
And so a lot of times people do that, whether you're famous or not. They know you from when they know you. And if
Hmm.
you grow, and like you're not going to the bar anymore every night, you're not,
Hmm.
gambling every night, you're not doing what they're doing, but they're still doing it.
Hmm.
Right. It's
Yeah.
like, well, maybe that's toxic for you. You can't be around somebody
Hmm.
still gambling or still drinking to excess. Like, you get beyond that.
Hmm.
So,
Exactly.
so if they can't understand that, maybe they can't be on your journey,
Hmm.
because it's not
Yeah.
going to work.
Yeah, and some people, they can still love and accept you, but from afar, you know?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah. Because if you realize, like, maybe I can talk to you on the phone, but I can't be with you at the bar.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe we could be in this other social situation, but I can't be where you want me to be, because
Mhm.
that's not where I am.
Exactly.
And if it's somebody's like one of these all or nothing type of people, then, well,
Mhm.
then that's what it is. So, in terms of experiences you've had, with misconceptions, um, in terms of like, what are the biggest misconceptions?
Yeah, the
about.
biggest one that I hear a lot is that someone can experience something traumatic and then perhaps 3 or 5 years later, they're still being affected by it, and they're
Mhm.
confused as to why they haven't moved on or why they can't get over it. And it goes back to the awareness aspect, and if you haven't taken the time to acknowledge what happened and allow yourself to process, then it is still gonna fester in the background or on the back burner, until a couple of years. It's gonna manifest in one way or another and begin to affecting how you see yourself, how you see your relationships, your career, and everything.
Yeah, I
So
think
that's
some
definitely a major one.
that's hard because like if people expect you like, well, you got to get back to work or you got to
Mhm.
get back to your responsibilities, and if you're not given the time, or even if you don't take the time, like maybe you have to segment your life. That's like, okay, I still
Mhm.
have to pay my mortgage, right?
Yeah.
I still have to do this. I might be responsible. My kids still got to go to school.
Mhm.
I gotta
Yeah.
still be at the bus stop. It's like, so there's only so much grace you can give yourself, but you still have to give yourself space. Like
Mhm.
again, that like the looking glass self. If you just totally push it down
Yeah.
and you never address it, is the one thing about like art therapy for artists is like a lot of times our projects address that.
Mhm.
Like when if you go, you write that song, you do that painting, you're the actor that performs like that. You by being an actor, you work through your demons
Mhm.
in the act of being an actor.
Yeah.
You process it, you find ways to artistically process it that are more positive than maybe what if you don't have a way to process it, you might push it down, you might substitute
Mhm.
it with an addiction. You have no
Mhm.
way to work through it.
Yeah.
So the coping mechanisms, there's a lot of people you talking about art therapy or doing a journal or
Mhm.
talking to somebody. What are the other methods that you're from promote?
Yeah, definitely first acknowledging that the longer you prolong addressing the problem, the more that pain begins to develop and get stronger. And so we want to change that future reality. And by doing so, you have to acknowledge what the problem is. The sooner, the better, right? So someone can explore, like we mentioned earlier, journaling, finding someone safe that they can talk to for support, seeking out hypnotherapy, which is a very powerful technique. And just to set the record straight, it's not about mind control.
Yeah, people might be scared of that. It's like, you don't
Yeah.
want to give up control. They're scared of like what happens.
No,
Yeah.
it's not that at all. It actually taps into the subconscious mind, which is in charge of 95% of our beliefs, our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions. So it's like accessing like a super AI computer.
Yeah, your
So if
brain
you
is the
really want
ultimate.
to exactly. So if you really want to have like fast, rapid transformation with your habits or the way that you see yourself and feel more empowered, then hypnotherapy is a very powerful process. So seeking out a hypnotherapist that you can trust as well. And timeline therapy is amazing, hands down. Highly recommend that because it's another way that rapidly allows you to release and let go all of the anger, the shame, the guilt, and regret in a way that's not reliving the past experience, right? You don't have to tell those detailed experiences of what happened to you in that story
Mhm.
and how it made you feel. It's as simple as being guided through like a meditation
Yeah,
and
meditation is good.
observing what happened in an observer's perspective. And when you understand how the mind works, when you change perspectives, you're able to receive different wisdoms and gems that help you reframe the experience. And then you're able to release, like a somatic practice, all of the negative emotions within the body and the mind.
It's interesting because I lived in Japan and for a couple of years, and I also practiced like Nichiren Daishonin Buddhism. And there's
Mm,
like in terms of like what we do a lot of breathing exercises and
mhm,
chanting and meditations, but also affirmations in
mhm.
terms of like we kind of vision have our dreams and we have like waking dream affirmations of this is what we want, and we
Okay.
kind of reprogram our mind to like not to be super positive and say never think about the negative,
Mhm.
But if you can like I'm a programmer, right? I can reprogram any system. I can actually
Mhm.
take the foundation and restructure it and call it like structural change. In
Mhm.
programming code, is like we actually had new tables, new structures. It's a whole like infrastructure change. And then
Mhm.
sometimes we have non-structural changes. It's just change in a value in a column in a table.
Mhm.
But a structural change is actually a whole new table
Yeah.
or a whole new paradigm. Well, your brain works like that.
Mhm.
And
Exactly.
if you kind of see, like, if I found change the foundation of my concept of like what is truth, what is belief, what is it,
Mhm.
yeah, then you can actually move from where that traumatic event happened, and you
Mhm.
use it as a positive.
Yes.
So you learn from it. It's like a learning, it's like lesson learned experience instead
Mhm.
of bad loop experience.
Exactly. Exactly.
Like a lot of us go through the bad loop, and then we're like, why are
Mhm.
we stuck in that loop?
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
we never like reprogram the foundation of it, right? We don't like learn from it. We keep on. It's like, oh, if I change where I am, it's not going to happen. But you didn't change you,
Mhm.
so you can
Exactly.
go anywhere in the world, and that's still going to happen.
Because you're still carrying the beliefs and those thoughts. Yeah. And that just recreates the reality you're living.
When we otherize
Exactly.
it, we say this other person, this situation outside myself is the one thing that's doing it,
Mhm.
right? Instead of
Yeah.
like, no, you're the one that's doing
Mhm.
it.
Mhm.
So we have a
Yeah.
lot of people that like, oh, it's otherize it, it's other, it's like it's the outside influences. That's the cause of, and we have a lot of problems in societies that do that
Mhm.
because they blame something, and it's never going to be true. So it's
Mhm.
always going to cause trauma and conflict even
And
outside
yeah.
yourself,
Yeah.
because then you're just extending your personal pain onto other people.
Mhm. Exactly.
So, like, when you start with yourself, then you can actually have better relationships, right? Because if you don't solve the
Mhm.
problems internally,
Mhm.
then you're always going to have external issues too, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So the self compassion, like, or self love. Some people, when they hear that, it's like, oh, that's hokey, or that's like new age. Do you run into people that just can't get into self compassion because they don't feel like they have permission for that?
Yeah, exactly. For myself, I struggled for many years with a lack of self-worth. Like I said, I dealt with a lot of suicide ideation when I was younger as well. And so for someone that's experienced traumatic experiences where they don't feel as though they're worthy or that they're not good enough, trying to instantly change that perspective to I am worthy, I do deserve good things and love, that's hard, right? And so you have to start small, right? And
Hmm.
that begins with first inner reflection again with journaling or doing like you said, art or some type of way where you're exploring your past experiences, analyzing them, and targeting different experiences that you had that prove that you are worthy of good things because the current negative belief that you have wasn't always true. It was created because of the past experience. And so, just like you didn't have it before that past experience, you can have a life again where that belief is not true for you.
Yeah, a lot of times our patterns are like they started really young.
Hmm.
We're kind of like in our parents might have told us that we're not good enough, and then you believe that. That's not true,
Yeah.
but you believe it, right? So
Hmm.
then everybody, say if your father says that, then your friends say that, then your partner might say that, your boss might say that because you keep on bringing that vibe around with
Hmm.
you.
Yeah. Or not even just verbally communicating that, but simply in the way that they do certain actions, body language attunes for a lot of the way that we communicate, right? So if they're, giving you the cold shoulder, we may interpret that as, oh, they don't think I'm good enough.
Hmm.
So sometimes it's not even, what's
Correct.
said, it's what's not being said. And
Yeah.
because we have our own filters, then we interpret things differently.
Yeah, because nonverbal communication is super important, and people might
Hmm.
not realize like the nonverbal cues. I mean, in the animal world, it's like your cat is doing all this nonverbal stuff, and they're
Hmm.
communicating with you. And like, if you don't pick up on it, like, yeah, everybody has a pet can kind of pick up on what their pet does, what they don't
Yeah.
say, what
Yeah.
they say with their body, what they say with their, that same thing with humans. And
Hmm.
and and then a lot of people
Exactly.
just like, oh, I'm just going to go by exactly what word for word what they said.
Yeah.
But
No.
look at your
And
eyes, look at your
yeah.
hands, like a body movement. It's super important whether you admit it or not.
Hmm.
You are subconsciously picking up on it.
Yeah. And to put it in a science-backed method, that's called the bioelectric electronic magnetic field, right? And so to put it in perspective, imagine if you walk into a room and there's five people and one person walks a little closer or they pass by you and you get this feeling that something seems off. Have you ever had that experience,
Oh yeah,
right? Where
you get
you
the
sense
vibes.
something, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Play on the good vibes, right? Good and bad vibes. It's
yeah,
something that you definitely pick up, and that's without them communicating anything verbally. That's their electromagnetic field communicating through different energy.
yeah. And being a musician, I pick up on it big time because like if when I'm playing notes
Mhm.
or I'm creating beats, I can
Mhm.
immediately see the audience respond to the beats and the frequencies I
Mhm.
put out. If I put
Wow.
out frequencies that are very harmonious, people
Mhm.
will take out their candles and wave. And but if I do something more like like military kind of staccato, then people get more aggravated. There's kind
Mhm.
of difference between like a
Yeah.
punk rock band and
Mhm.
people in a grunge band. You see the mosh pit. People are
Yeah.
like, why are they doing that? The music is creating a vibe that's
Mhm.
creating this kind of agitation. So you can
Exactly.
create like an agitation. And the thing is, you can do that with your voice
Mhm.
outside of music. And in history, we've seen that, like a totalitarian leader, like a
Mhm.
Stalin or a Hitler. The way they talked was very militaristic. It has a poetry to it that was kind of dangerous, right? So you can use your voice to do anything you want.
Mhm.
And if you know what
Exactly.
you're doing, you can actually use it to, manipulate or affect other people's actions.
Mhm.
And so it's super important to understand kind of like the situational awareness
Yeah.
of what's going on.
Yeah. And that's why, like, awareness is key to transformation, because if you're not aware of how, the different dynamics of energy when you're communicating, or how music influences you, your thoughts, your feelings, then you're just running on autopilot and you're consuming information, music, media, and not really understanding how it's affecting your current reality.
Yeah, and there are those that are like, not that everything's some kind of big conspiracy,
Mhm.
but there are folks that understand dynamics
Yeah.
and they will use those to get what they want.
Mhm.
And do you want to be walking on autopilot or understanding like your power?
Right.
Like you understand, I could actually
Exactly.
turn that off. Like I could not listen to that. I could have some
Mhm.
critical thinking. I could think about like, what is it that do I actually get the result that they're saying?
Mhm.
Wait, do I have critical thinking when somebody says, "Oh, this person is responsible for all the ills in my life"?
Mhm.
Maybe it's my gambling that's doing it. Like, no, but no, it's just my neighbor's doing it. So if you continue to just think your neighbor is the one reason why you have no money,
Mhm.
not the fact that you're betting on sports all day and you're losing.
Yeah.
Like, okay, like did you don't think it out? Like
Yeah.
you use like the scapegoat. Uh,
Mhm.
and so it's like people just need to, I think, have that looking glass self look and some self awareness and critical thinking. And those
Mhm.
are hard things for people to get to because like it's not easy. And
Yeah.
sometimes you might be the one that's causing the most problems in your life.
Mhm.
It's not your neighbor, it's you.
Yeah. And that's why it takes so much courage and bravery to heal, right? Because sometimes addressing those experiences is scary as hell. So having, that inner courage, that drive to no longer be stuck in the reality that you're in and want more for yourself, for your family, for your friends, because the world and those that love you the most, they want to see the most healed and whole version of you.
Yeah, because you don't want to be in conflict with yourself and then your family and then your friends and then the
Yeah.
macrocosm. Like then you're going against the wind. You're in the storm all the time.
Yeah.
And like you don't have to be in the storm all the time. You can start to make decisions. Like I knew people like were in the rat race, right? They're like I'm a techie, and I used to be like a road warrior. And there was a lot of us that felt like, oh, we have to travel from Sunday to Thursday. We got to be on the plane. We got to be in the Uber. We got to do that. We got to be on the hustle all the time.
Yeah.
And I was in my my 20s, and I was like, yeah. I got to go get it. And then I was like, I wasn't happy.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I decided I can set a boundary. I can actually still be successful and not do that. I just was around a lot of people who thought like that's the only way you could do it. And then once I realized like I don't have to do it that way to actually get what I want, then you can change it. But like if you're in it, you don't see any other way.
Yeah. Yeah. And just recognizing in, certain moments, if you're not happy, start with, okay, why am I not happy? What is it that I need or that I want so that I can be happier? And when you begin journaling, things are going to start coming to you that you never even thought of to help shift and make transitions into creating a more happier life. Because ultimately, that is your birthright, to be full of love, peace, joy, and wisdom. That's what everyone is entitled to.
Yeah, I think it's super important about healing, because physical healing, is one thing. Like I'm a cancer survivor, so I had to physically go through that. But there's like a lot of and sometimes the medical world, they focused on the oncology and the radiology and all the chemo there. All that stuff is like very scientific, very very factual based.
Yeah.
But there was this other stuff, like the spiritual stuff, like the emotional stuff, where they don't know about that.
Yeah.
They don't tell you that. So
Yeah.
that you have to get from somewhere else.
Yeah.
And what I found is like when I was in the cancer clinics, I was around people that, they didn't have the emotional support, they didn't have the spiritual support, and they kind of went downhill. And I'm still here, right? They're not here. And if you don't have that balance of the other side of that, it doesn't matter what the science does. You still don't make it. So it's like people have to understand you can't just like there's multiple pillars. I guess I'm gonna try to say that like how a human being is, and it's not just one thing.
Exactly.
And a lot of times we take the one pillar as like, oh, my physical self. And you can have 6-pack abs, look in the mirror, and you can be totally unhappy.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just want to say sorry for the ones that you lost during that journey. I know a lot of people who have gone through that, they have dealt with a lot of fear and anger behind that. And the science shows that when we feel those negative emotions and we don't process them, they manifest in numerous different ways. We start feeling more tense in our bodies. We start, having struggle with sleeping. And so it's really important to release those emotions and one way or another, continuing to seek out the support and find a method that works for you.
Yeah, I think it's just I think a lot of times we get so put into like lanes. We try to just compartmentalize everything. And there's a lot of stuff that's really holistic. And we're just so focused like, well, let me just take this one piece and just focus on that. And it's really the integration.
Exactly.
That seems to be the hard thing for people to get, because it's like, oh, I'm just going to do this 10-step. Right. And then, well, it's 10 steps, but then there's 10 years of your life that led you to the 10 steps. Right. So somebody's giving you a program, it's like, this is a 10-step program, but like they had 10 years plus the 10 steps. If they just give you the 10 steps and say you didn't get to 10 years there, you might not get the same result.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely not a one size fit all. And just like, when we go down and we sit at the table to enjoy a meal, we're not just eating the sides, the dessert or something. We have to have a balanced meal with the protein, the veggies, the starches, all of that. And that's the same method and approach that we need to apply to different areas of our lives. Because one thing isn't going to solve every situation or experience in our lives.
Yeah, I'm gonna actually bring this on the stage for a second. Is like you have a bunch of different programs here. Can you see that?
Yeah, yes, I can see it. Yeah. So in October of this year, I will be hosting a healing and transformational retreat where the participants will be guided through the signature coaching program, Life Anew, specifically releasing those 5 toxic negative emotions such as anger, shame, guilt, regret, and sadness. And then identifying the limiting beliefs that have been keeping them stuck, such as I'm not enough. I'm not worthy, I don't deserve. We'll begin releasing and loosening those up so that at the end of the retreat, not only are you going to be beaming with empowerment and confidence, but you'll have that internal sense of peace, abundance, and joy that is going to continue and transform after the retreat. So it's not like a typical superficial surface retreat where we're just doing yoga. It's a full somatic and transformation experience.
Right.
And then for the self love retreat, for anyone who's struggling with feelings of lack of worth or not good enough, I'm hosting a self love retreat in Glenarm, Maryland in May. All are welcome to join, and we'll be identifying and transforming those negative beliefs and empowering you with confidence, joy, and peace. And then if anyone wants to connect for a one-to-one transformation session as well.
That's
And I
cool.
have guided meditations on Insight Timer.
Yeah, and again, I've got this QR code that you guys can scan. That'll bring you right to your sunshine soulvibes.com, and that brings you to your book now services package link that's actually on the screen right now. If you do the QR code, they'll bring you into that, so then you can jump into this. And so I wanted to give that to people. There's some new things that we can do with the platform. We can actually promote people's our guest programs and the things that they offer. So we like to be able to give people that so they can do a deeper dive into what we've been talking about. Are you also like, do you write books?
I will be writing my book and hopefully releasing by the end of the year.
Oh, wow.
It will be The Art of Becoming, Stepping into Your Greatness. It'll be a self-help book, but it'll also include transformational meditations so that you can learn to release limiting beliefs, how you can anchor in positive emotions to help when you're going through those challenges and storms, and to really help to pattern more peace and joy in your life.
Well, that's cool. I think
Yeah.
I've talked to a lot of people, and I always refer to people as creative or creators, because everybody who has a program, anybody's doing
Mhm.
like being a mentor, you're very creative in how you can, to be a mentor, you have to be creative in terms of being able to transfer your experience
Mhm.
to other people. So I still think,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
some people say, well, creative person, oh, just an actor, or that's a musician, that's a painter.
Mhm.
I think all human beings are creative.
Yes.
And
Yes, they
so
are.
like it just, that's how the focus of this podcast is a safe place for all creators to kind of tell their, give their vision, talk
Mhm.
about what they're trying to do in this world to kind of, pay it forward. Because I think
Yeah.
everybody as a creative person isn't just trying to just do something for themselves. They're trying to pay forward like what they've learned and try to get other people
Mhm.
that benefit from what they've learned or
Yeah.
experienced.
Yeah. And so thank you so much for allowing your light to shine and creating this platform for many voices to be heard and experiences and wisdom to be shown. Thank you.
Well, I want to thank you for being here today. And then we've gone through the QR code. I do encourage people to click on the links. The links you see below will be fully clickable on the platforms that we're on. We were just on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Kick. We're going to be on all the other platforms where you can listen to or watch a podcast by tomorrow. And we do encourage everybody to, scan the QR code, click on the links, we've got your Instagram there too. So I'm sure, like, do you like people like to DM you on your Instagram?
Yeah, that's accessible as well.
That's cool. Yeah, there's so many ways people can connect today. So we just want to give everybody like whatever method you feel comfortable connecting. We have it here. You can do it
Yeah.
on the way you feel comfortable doing. And thank you for being here on a Saturday afternoon. And hope you have a great rest of your weekend.
Yes, thank you so much, and you do the same.
Thank you.